Hey, it's Political Prowess, Rev back, and we got Tess again this week. We're talking about Governor Christie. This episode is called Tollgate. And we got a new phrase we coined this week. Psychopathic insensitivity. Stick around. Hey everybody, it's Political Prowess again. Rev here.
Tess.
And this week we want to talk about what pretty much everyone is talking about, and that is Governor Christie, governor of New Jersey. And unless you've been living in a cave, in a hole, under a rock with your hands in your ears and
Without Wi-Fi,
you probably know who he is to begin with, and specifically why we're talking about him this week. So back in September, in fact, about the second week of September last year, there were some, what's a polite way to say this, traffic problems.
It's a little congestion.
Fort Lee got kind of constipated. So there's a bridge that goes between New York and New Jersey. It's known as the world's busiest bridge, and I've had to accidentally drive across it 3 times in one day because I kept missing my fucking exit. But it's the George Washington Bridge. It is literally the most ridiculously busy bridge that you'll have ever, if you ever have to drive across. I'm very sorry. The second is probably the Ben Franklin, which is right down the street coming out of Philadelphia. Right? Yeah. So, doesn't matter. It got shut down to one lane on August 13th, 2013. No one knew why. Now, at the time, there was a couple of reports, some rumor mills, if you will, and the Rachel Maddow show picked it up based on a local report out of New Jersey from, I think, the New Jersey, and I don't remember which newspaper it was, so I don't want to say because I'll get it wrong.
Well, it started, there is actually a blog dedicated to the traffic.
Right. Because it's, I mean, it's always bad. Forget this incident. Traffic in Jersey sucks to begin with.
Yeah, if you're sitting in traffic for 20 minutes on your way home in whatever neck of the woods you're in, that's you think that's bad, that's not bad.
That's absolutely nothing. So this got picked up, and the rumor was that because it didn't make sense to shut all of these toll booths down, they went down to one lane out of Fort Lee, and it caused the morning commute to go to like 6 hours. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
And it even congested all of the side streets.
Oh, yeah. Fort Lee.
Fort Lee, yeah.
Fort Lee was screwed.
It was a parking lot.
It was absolutely a parking lot for 6 hours. So, and for several days, it was like that over and over and over. And the rumor that I'm getting to was that this was in some weird, maybe political retaliation against the mayor of Fort Lee, who had previously backed Buono, the Democratic candidate for governor, who Christie beat by a mile. I beat like 30 or 40 points or whatever.
I think it was a 24-point margin or something stupid like that.
He stomped her into the ground. But of course, it was dismissed. But there were a few news outlets that just kept digging. And the only major national news outlet, I follow Rachel Maddow kind of religiously, and she, every once in a while, she would talk again about this bridge closure, and she would talk about what's going on. Well, last week, a couple emails got released. And one of them was to David Wildstein, thank you, the Christie appointed at the Port Authority. He was appointed by Governor Christie to basically run most of the Port Authority. And it came from the Deputy Chief of Staff, who she has since resigned. And the Deputy Chief said...
Resigned.
Yeah, resigned. Yeah. She said very simply, it's time for some traffic troubles in Fort Lee. That was at 7:35 in the morning on August 13th, 2013. It's time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee. And to which DW replies, got it. Now, there were very few other emails that were released at the time. There were also some text messages between, and we don't really know who, actually, because the names weren't released for the text messages, but it was people joking about the traffic problems, and one guy's like, I feel bad for the kids, I guess. And it's like, oh, they're the children of Buono voters. And they laughed it off.
Yeah, that's I will take a whole different rant some other time about the absolutely sociopathic insensitivity of that. But
That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Sociopathic insensitivity. That might be the name of this podcast for this week, because that is exactly what this is. And we're going to get into the more political bits, but we're going to also first get into the ramifications of this problem. So EMS responses were problematic because, as Tess already mentioned, the entirety of Fort Lee was a parking lot, and that's not an exaggeration. That's the truth. There was a report. In fact, an elderly lady did die in the hospital later that same Monday. It took her a little while longer to get to the hospital from her cardiac event.
There was a report from an EMS worker in an ambulance that they were responding to complaints of chest pains, and it took them an hour to get to the person complaining of chest pains. An hour.
And the EMTs, if I remember, if this is the same article that I was reading, it may not be, so if I'm confusing them, I'm sorry. But the responders took an hour to get there, and the actual paramedics actually met them at the hospital or on the way to the hospital because they couldn't even get there either.
Yeah, it was just shorter to get to the hospital, I think.
So it's like, now, fortunately, that person didn't die, but, the elderly did. There was a missing child that was also...
Which, thankfully, they did find the child, but you have police who, by the way, were not informed. Local police were not informed that this was going to happen.
No one told the mayor's office. No one told the police, the fire department, and they were all pissed.
And understandably.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
exactly.
Something happens, you turn on your sirens, you're trying to get to an emergency, and then there's no way, people can't get over because there's nowhere to go.
Right. So and that's all the ramifications in a nutshell. Granted, there's a lot more to it. What I want to focus on is, did Christie know? Of course, when this started, he immediately was denying that not only did he have no knowledge of any impropriety, but no one in his staff did. He was in fact,
he made that crass joke about, I was out there working the cones. So I was like, fuck you.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Which is Chris Christie. I mean, he is very known for his flamboyant sarcasm. So, but for him to do that, and of course, it's all a lie. The question is, and this still has not yet been proven necessarily, so I will say that, but did he directly know? Let's look at the facts. His chief of staff's deputy, so the deputy chief of staff, this lady who has since resigned, as we mentioned, is the person who is in direct correspondence with David Wildstein at the Port Authority. It was their email exchanges that started the traffic problems.
Now, the question that brings up is, have you ever known a chief of staff or deputy chief of staff not to do something at the pleasure of the person they're working for?
Or at the very least, them not know about it.
Yeah, I mean, governors don't need plausible deniability.
Right.
So
and not getting too conspiracy, but maybe to get a little conspiracy, and I'm gonna give the Rachel Maddow show credit. We'll play the clip right now, and then we're gonna talk about what this particular theory is. So watch this.
We may have an important new question to raise about this big story about New Jersey. The Bergen Record newspaper yesterday, as you know, published documents that seem to confirm Democrats' longstanding allegations that lanes to the George Washington Bridge, the most heavily traveled bridge in the world, were shut down on purpose in order to create a huge traffic disaster in the town of Fort Lee, New Jersey, as some sort of political retribution. The operating assumption to explain what happened in the Christie bridge scandal is that this whole thing came about because of political retaliation for the Fort Lee mayor refusing to endorse Governor Christie. Maybe it wasn't about the endorsement. Maybe it was something else special about Fort Lee. This is the email from the governor's deputy chief of staff, who the governor just announced today that he has fired. The email says, look, on August 13th, 2013 at 7:34 a.m., Bridget Ann Kelly wrote, quote, "Time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee." Why then? Why then? This appears to be the order from Governor Christie's office to unleash hell on Fort Lee. Why? What happened around that time so that at 7:34 in the morning on August 13th, that was the time to pull the trigger? But if it wasn't the endorsement question that motivated the people who did this to Fort Lee, what was it? Maybe the date and time on that email is key. This is New Jersey Supreme Court Justice John Wallace. In 2010, right after Chris Christie took office as governor of New Jersey, Governor Christie made an unprecedented decision with regard to New Jersey Supreme Court Justice John Wallace.
So if you pick that up, in a nutshell, on earlier in the year, there was a Chief Justice by the name of Wallace. Now, Chief Justice Wallace was up for his lifetime tenure, it's called. So, New Jersey, like a lot of states, the way they do their Chief Justices and their Supreme Courts, they'll go up for one term, and then they get renominated for a lifetime membership to that particular bench seat.
Yeah.
But it's not lifetime when it starts. A lot of people don't realize that. And the reason a lot of people don't realize that is because you always get renominated, you get your tenure for lifetime, and you're done. It's never, it's a formality, basically.
Yeah.
So, earlier in the year, for the first time in New Jersey's history, Christie decided not to put him up for nomination, which means that...
Hold on a second. It wasn't that he didn't put him up. He withdrew the nomination, is all the media I've been seeing. He was... The justice in question was nominated.
Right.
And Christie withdrew it. And there's this video of him out there. You can find it, of the nice angry rant he gives explaining why he withdrew it.
So he withdraws, John Wallace's... John Wallace Jr., I think, is his full name. But Chief Wallace's nomination's gone. Well, of course, at this point, the Democratic Senate is just understandably pissed, right? Yeah. And they went, well, you know what, Christie? Okay, that's fine. We're not going to approve a single one of your appointees.
Yeah.
And they all sat back, and that's exactly what happened. In fact, that seat's still vacant, I think.
I haven't checked it, but it's, if you want to dig into New Jersey politics.
3 in a row. Shot down. Well, Christie had it at this point. Now, around the same time that was happening, Chief Justice, and I'll probably screw her name up, Hoens, I think, her seat was up. She's a Republican. She's the wife of one of Christie's staff.
Oh, I'll have to stop. When I was talking about withdrawing earlier, that's the one I thought you were talking about. I didn't know we had gone farther back. About the other one. The specifically withdrawing, what I've been seeing in the media is about this.
It's about her, which we're going to talk about right now, too. So this was a Republican justice, a wife of someone that is on his staff.
Yes.
So this is someone he likes.
It's one of his campaign advisors,
right,
I think.
I believe so. Withdrew a nomination. Now, here's why. In a nutshell, he said, and by the way, I understand this. I actually do. I'm not defending Christie, but I get it. He basically didn't want to put her through what he knew she was going to have to go through, because they would have eaten her alive.
He's the quote... and I'll have to paraphrase it as opposed to quoting him, but he called the Democrats in the process animals.
Animals, yeah. And he said, I simply could not be party to the destruction of Helen Hoen's professional reputation. I was not going to let her lose to the animals. That's the quote specifically from Christie that you were mentioning. And granted, he said it with a lot less... humorous than I did.
He had a little more fervor.
Yes, a little bit. So he was pissed. Now, I want to talk about that date, because this is now going back to the Rachel Maddow clip. This all happened in September. On September 12th. Late in the day.
The day before the traffic
problems occurred.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now there are right now it's theory. It's not theory. It's hypothesis. I hate when people use those two things interchangeably. It's hypothesis because we don't actually have evidence to support it. But you get too many coincidences lining up in a row, and
I start putting my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
It's time to make sure your water supplies are stocked up. That's all I'm saying.
Now, granted, this is all entirely speculation, I have to be honest, but because, again, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, it's not been proven yet that Christie knows, but there were 6,000 pages released yesterday on this. We knew there were more coming.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't know how many, but it's apparently 6,000 pages.
Yeah, apparently the polar vortex brought in a snowdrift of email correspondences.
Well, you gotta hate that email retention policy right about now, don't you?
Yeah.
So, that's in a nutshell, that's politically speaking, shifting focuses for a minute, I will be very surprised if Christie now runs for president of the United States in 2016, because he was a front runner in the GOP.
Oh, yeah.
He was a favorite.
Well, he's been a front runner of the GOP for the last political cycle.
That's true.
Even if it turns out that there is some kind of conclusive proof that it's not his fault,
I'll be surprised if he's reelected to governor.
His ability to run's just been tainted.
Because even if you didn't directly involve yourself in the scandal, your top executives, one of which we haven't talked about yet and are about to, were directly involved. And you can't run your own household. How are you going to run the state or the country?
And here's something that bothered me, and you've probably, if you watch the news at all, have heard people bitching about this, but he gave like a 2-hour mea culpa the other day. A 2-hour fucking press conference. And at no point in time did he say he was sorry.
Right, never happened.
He said, what happens under my watch is my responsibility, but they did it and they've been taken care of. Really? Really? And he used, if you listen to body language experts and language experts,
he was lying the whole friggin' time. I can tell.
He used all the phrases, the passive voice phrases you use when you lie. Mistakes were made. Not I made a mistake. Not this person made a mistake. Mistakes were made. Bad things were done.
He shook his head no continuously through that interview.
He was just,
I mean, if I go back to my favorite show that used to be on True TV years ago with Jack Tremarco. He was a former FBI interrogator, and this was my first introduction to Nancy Grace. I don't like Nancy Grace.
Oh, no, I can't stand her.
She was on the show once, and it was I don't remember the name of the show now, but you basically, it was a game show that determined if people were lying. And the final stage was he would tell you something, and you had to determine if he was telling the truth or he was lying. Yeah. And it was Fake Out with Jack DeMarco. It was a great show. And I learned a lot about interrogation from that show and a lot about what to look for in people lying. And I'm not going to accuse Christie, but he looked like he was lying to me.
He had bad body language. He had Nixon body language.
He did have Nixon body language. This is so we go from Watergate to GW Gate, I guess.
Yeah, I saw Bridge. Tollgate would be great. I saw Bridgegate on a teleprompter like Chiron the other day, and I was like, what? Oh, that is the no. You should put a hyphen there.
We're doing Tollgate. We're gonna coin that one today.
Tollgate.
So this is definitely Tollgate. So one more particular person I want to talk to about in his administration, and this is important because this is gonna really play out in the next couple of weeks. Someone is up for confirmation next week.
And ding, 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 coincidence alert.
Yeah. So his chief of staff, we've already talked, his deputy chief of staff, of course, has resigned. Yeah. His chief of staff has recently been appointed as the attorney general for the state of New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he's up for confirmation next week, and if he gets confirmed, which I can't see that happening easily at this point, but if he gets confirmed, he'll own jurisdiction over this entire case, which is important because the subpoena rights right now of the prosecutors for the state of New Jersey are about to expire for this case because
February?
It's so old. Yeah, mid-February, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the date. I'd have to look it up. But we're a few weeks away from that, essentially, right? So you have the new attorney general, who's his former chief of staff, essentially.
Conflict of interest.
Overseeing the subpoena rights of the federal prosecutors for the state, who, by the way, have already gone. The state prosecutors have already gone to the federal government and said, you need to come into this.
Yeah.
So there already is a federal investigation. Federal prosecutors are already looking at this. There will be charges because at the end of the day, even if Christie is found innocent of whatever knowledge or disknowledge that he had, there were some illegal bits happening. This is corruption at a scale that, granted, New Jersey's known for, because it's, I hate to talk bad about New Jersey, but you wouldn't have had 2 successful HBO series about corruption in New Jersey if it wasn't kind of,
And really, I'm disappointed in you, New Jersey. I am.
Too. I really am.
Everybody knows you don't talk on the phone. You don't write shit down. You don't.
And don't use Gmail.
Oh God!
I mean, seriously? Like, wow! They were using Gmail because they save everything.
I was about to say, you think Facebook keeps a record of everything you type in?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting over the next couple of weeks to see what happens. I'm going to give you my predictions. We're gonna swing this around to some predictions, if you will. And I'm not going to give predictions about guilt because I don't want to go there. but I see an impeachment trial coming for Governor Christie. Period. I don't know if he'll be impeached or not, and if he even and I don't know if he is impeached, whether or not that'll lead to him being thrown out of office. Because if you guys didn't know, those are two different things.
Yes.
Just FYI, impeached does not mean thrown out.
And based on the number of people I see commenting on the internet,
they don't realize
newspapers, they don't know the difference between impeachment. Yeah,
impeaching is basically just and now he has been sued, by the way. There is a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why I'm saying it's already
by a couple of people already.
Right. So several people have started lawsuits about this, and there are going to be more, I'm sure. I expect an impeachment trial. I don't know whether or not he'll be impeached, and again, as I mentioned, I don't know whether or not an impeachment would mean he'll be thrown out. I don't see him being reelected regardless. Even if he is not impeached or is impeached and not thrown out of office, I think he's done politically for a long time. Maybe not forever.
Oh, no.
But he's done for a while. He is definitely no longer the front runner of the GOP for the presidency in 2016.
Which means you guys better get off your asses and find somebody charismatic this time.
I mean, granted, look, I will say this about Christie. He has a lot of charisma. He is fun to watch. He is an entertaining SOB. But
he's entertaining, but
he's
it's disturbing.
He really is.
His type, it's and people like him because his image of this straight shooting. And it's a friend of mine told me a very long time ago when I was young, and I took it to heart, is that there is a difference between being witty and being an asshole, and the difference is the amount of care you have for the other humans' emotions in your orbit. Yeah. And if your constituents, the people you are supposed to represent, ask you legitimate, honest, thoughtful, respectful questions,
don't be a sarcastic ass.
You blow them off or insult them, you are doing your people a disservice.
Right.
You're supposed to lead all of them, not just the fuckers that voted for you. So it's just how this works.
Tell me how you really feel.
I don't think we have enough time or a spit filter to catch the bile that's going to shoot out of my eyes and nose.
So so that's my prediction. Like I said, I see an impeachment trial coming. I see more lawsuits coming, and I see the GOP struggling to find a candidate for 2016. And I mean struggling, because let's be honest, the rest of the GOP frontrunners are just...
What do they got? They got Paul Ryan, Bobby Jindal.
Hey, maybe Mike Huckabee will make a return. He can get back on the Chick-fil-A platform.
Oh, yeah. I can check.
I don't like Mike Huckabee. Was it not clear? I'm sorry.
I don't like him either, but I don't like him for the fact that so many people look to him as a source of information, and as a source of information, he is woefully inadequate.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk to Mike Huckabee about his specific religion, good guy to talk to. You want to talk to him about science or facts or anything remotely provable or demonstrable about human nature or society, he's not the guy you look to. I'm sorry, you look to real, verifiable experts, not the dude on Fox News.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned Fox News. So we'll wrap it up talking about Fox News.
Oh yeah, they fucking soft soaped the whole Christie thing. Oh my god.
Little soft lob there.
Yeah.
So earlier in the week, my personal favorite, Shep. I just love Shep.
I like Shep because he's the guy that it's at some point in time he's going to get fed up and he speaks his mind. It just always happens, and he always gets in trouble for it. But he always does it.
So Shep is the only one who early in the week even made mention of the Christie thing, and it was even just this little bitty just blurb in his weird show with all the big ass screens.
Yeah. That was like his Good Morning Vietnam moment where he slipped in something his bosses weren't supposed to know about.
And then the rest of the week they didn't even acknowledge this Christie story. Like it's
fucking thing, man.
I'm like, are you guys?
They spend the whole week talking about the global warming hoax.
Right? Yeah, they spent all week talking about global warming hoax, and they really did do that too.
Yeah.
Like, what's I feel bad because this is going to come across sexist, but what's the blonde chick's name who was upset that people didn't know her on Jeopardy because I don't even know her.
Oh, it's Megyn Kelly. I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was making the jokes about global warming on her show, and then
it's snowing outside in the winter. It's got to be a hoax. Fuck you. Get some education.
So so it was just funny. They're fair and balanced. Isn't it their slogan still?
Yeah, it is still their slogan, and it's ludicrous. Ludicrous.
Yeah, unbalanced and
foul and unbalanced.
Yeah. That's try that one on for size. Foul and unbalanced. So
in general, if you're watching the news on TV, they're beholden to their advertisers and they're beholden to their ratings. So don't expect any of them to be fair and balanced, except maybe PBS. And if you can stay awake through PBS NewsHour, you are a better man than me.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Or woman.
And I will say that. We'll be a little bit fair. For as right wing as Fox News is, CNN pretty much takes care of the other side of that genre. So
I mean, they're sensationalists in the opposite direction.
I don't want to say that I just can't, because I can't watch Wolf Blitzer either. I mean,
I'm just going to say, if the news media in general is trying to shove its head up its own ass, Fox News and CNN meet somewhere in the small intestine.
I was thinking closer to the colon. You think they're that high? All the way up to the colon intestine?
No. Yeah, all the way up there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, pretty far in the digestive tract. Now, the one I do heart the most, of course, if it's not obvious, is I have a thing. Rachel. It's Rachel Maddow.
I love Rachel. It's nothing like a Rhodes Scholar with. I believe her degree is in political science.
Yeah.
And she's kind of.
She's not an
about
idiot,
it.
is what we're trying to say.
No, she's smart and she's entertaining, and she will actually give you the sources for her material.
And whoever her
and you
team
can go
is,
look at it.
I don't want to just give Rachel all the credit. As much as she deserves. Yeah. She has an amazing team of people, obviously, because the crap they find, the local newspapers they scour through every single day to come up with some of the things that that was the really first national news show for the last couple of months. It was even talking about the bridge thing, tollgate, if you will.
After Olbermann lost his show, she was the only one that was doing real in-depth research into stuff.
Yeah. So. And which is weird because it's on MSNBC, which is and this is no knock against Rachel Maddow, but that's a horrible ass network.
It's not good. I mean, you have Ed and then Chris Matthews, who has lost his mind a long time ago.
More like Crazy Ball.
Now, granted, they do have, I think Chris Hayes comes on right before Rachel now.
Right.
And he's a smart dude.
He's a smart guy.
He's a wonk, and he's getting really good at presentation. He's got good guests on. Yeah. But for the most part, leading up to that, I watch the Ed Show every once in a while, or Hardball, or even Politics Nation with the Reverend. Oh, the Reverend Al. Just because I like to hear, spittle-flecked polemics. And craziness. That's why I watched the vice presidential debates this last cycle, because I know old crazy Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
Crazy Uncle Joe was going to be there. You could just see him trying to contain himself until it burst out. But no, for the most part, all the major news media outlets on cable are shit. Sorry, guys. If you really want the news, watch PBS, watch BBC America, their news shows, and you don't crucify me for this, but Al Jazeera US does some of the most best investigative journalism in the last 5 years, and their documentaries and their stuff. Some cable companies have them, but mostly you find them online, and they are really trying to be no shit journalists.
They're trying to be what current TV claims to be, I think.
Yeah, what current TV wanted to be, and there was too many hipsters on current TV.
Is that network still on? Because
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, it's not. I don't. The network I watch doesn't carry it.
So bad.
Yeah.
So anyway,
bad, guys.
So next week should be interesting. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Hopefully not Chris Christie again, but who knows? Could happen.
As an update, so far I haven't heard anything about. It looks like the unemployment extension got submarine so far. They're still working on it. So there's still the minimum wage question coming up.
What surprised me is that it didn't have to go through a revote even in the Senate. It went right through Congress, right?
It went through Congress, but then it had to go to the Senate.
We're waiting on the Senate. But that's what I mean. We didn't have to go through revotes to get it to the Senate. I expected, honestly, at least a day or two of revotes before it got through to get to the vote in the House.
Well, The House of
It was
Representatives.
6 Republicans, 4 Republicans. I mean, there's only like 4 or 5 or 6. I don't remember. I have to go look them up. That actually voted. Yes.
Yeah, well, I have to look at the statistics on that, but so far there, I mean, they've been talking about it in the news since the vote was supposed to happen, and
You know, it's mid-election year, as mentioned last week, so that means that the do-nothing Congress is going to do even less nothing, which...
yes, because nothing is better than controversial, apparently.
Yeah, they're only planning on working like 113 days or something this year.
Yeah, I'd like to get a piece of that money. Sorry, guys.
Oh, and the $175,000 a year they make, that's not a lot of money either, according to Republicans.
Yeah.
I'd like to make $175,000 for 113 days a year.
Yeah. if I got paid over $1,000, yeah.
I'll take it. Sign me up.
What is that, like $1,050 a day? Fuck it, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
So
I'll actually do work. I'll file paperwork. I'll sweep the floor. I don't care.
No, because it's remember, it's the do nothing.
Oh yeah, that's right.